Okay, so picture this. You've worked for the government like your whole life, and you're finally ready to retire, and your application to retire ends up in, you ready for this? A limestone mine,
Aha, yeah.
230 feet underground.
No kidding. It's crazy, right? And we're diving into how they process like thousands of federal retirement applications every month in this old limestone mine in Boyers, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and so you know how Elon Musk is like running the Department of Government Efficiency now?
Right, right. DOGE, yeah.
Yeah, DOGE, they were like auditing all the government stuff, and they found this setup.
Oh, wow.
And Musk even said it was like a time warp.
I mean, it's kind of wild when you think about it. You have Musk, like Mr. Cutting Edge Tech guy, and then you have this like ancient system.
I know. When I first read about it, I was like, this has got to be a joke. But then I was like, whoa, this is people's money we're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Like people's livelihoods. The system has been running since like, I think at least the 70s.
70s.
At least. Paper forms, they do the calculations by hand, the whole thing. And get this, to get the forms down to where they process them, they have to take an elevator down a mine shaft.
No way.
Yeah.
So what happens if the elevator breaks? Does everyone who wants to retire from the government, like, have to wait?
Well, Mems said that since they do it all by hand, they can only process, I think he said like 10,000 applications a month.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, any delays would really back things up.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit. How did this whole limestone mine thing even happen?
Well, it started out as a U.S. steel mine. Then the government was like, hey, let's store records down there.
Okay.
And now it's leased to a company called Iron Mountain. They do storage and stuff.
So, like, it's had a bunch of different uses.
Yeah, yeah.
But the main thing is they've always been, like, doing things the same way down there for years.
It seems that way, yeah.
Huh. So 10,000 applications come in every month. They sort through them, do everything by hand, and then they put everything into boxes.
Rows and rows of boxes, all underground.
It's crazy, like something out of a movie or something. But it also makes you wonder, like, how much is this all costing?
Right.
And is it even efficient? We found a Washington Post article from a while back, 2014, and it said this whole system cost taxpayers over $55 million that year.
55.8 million, yeah.
$55.8 million. That's a lot of money. Think about what else they could have done with that.
For sure. It makes you think, like, how much money is wasted when things just never get updated.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that 55 million, that's probably just the start.
Oh, yeah.
When you think about all the time it takes, processing everything and how long people have to wait, the real cost is probably way more.
I see what you mean. So it's like the whole world is going digital and we're stuck in the past.
Kinda, yeah.
Which brings us to, like, the big question. How do we fix this?
Well, I mean, technology seems like the obvious answer, right?
Right.
Imagine if people could just apply online securely, and get it done way faster. You could have computers and AI do like the first steps.
Okay.
And then, only have people look at the applications if there's like a problem.
So instead of putting all those forms in an elevator to go down into a mine, we just have everything in the cloud.
Exactly. And with the right like security and all that, it would actually be safer than how they're doing it now.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm starting to see how this could work. But wouldn't it be like a huge project to change everything? I mean, where do you even start?
It would be a big change for sure. But there are companies that like specialize in this kind of stuff.
Okay.
Helping the government go digital, they could figure out what needs to be done and like manage the whole thing.
What about the money, though? Isn't something like that super expensive?
Well, it would cost money up front. That's true. But remember, we're already spending millions every year on the old system. So a new system, it could pay for itself pretty quickly.
Okay.
Like you'd save money and be more efficient. Plus, it would be more accurate, faster, and retirees wouldn't have to wait as long.
That makes sense. But we can't forget about the people who work in the mine. Right.
You're totally right. We can't. That's why, like, when you switch to a new system, you got to have a plan for those workers.
Yeah.
Like maybe you do some retraining, help them find new jobs, or even create new jobs for them in the new system.
So it's like we're using technology to make things better, but we're not forgetting about the people.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's really interesting about all of this, because this whole limestone mine thing, it's not just about retirement, you know? It's like we're seeing this kind of thing happen all over the place.
You mean like automation and stuff?
Right. Healthcare, finance, education, they're all trying to modernize. And even though it's hard, the benefits are huge.
So you're saying like this mine is kind of like a warning?
Yeah. It shows what happens when we don't keep up with the times, but it also shows us that like we can do better.
Interesting. So this mine thing, even though it's kind of weird, it's actually like a really important example.
Totally. It shows how important it is to embrace new ideas, to invest in people, and to find a good balance between technology and, making sure people are okay.
Okay, I get it. So it's like there could be other minds out there that we don't even know about.
Exactly, and we should all be looking for them, like what other things are stuck in the past, just waiting for someone to bring them into the future.
That's a good question. We should all be thinking about that. Welcome back. So we've been talking about this whole limestone mine where retirement applications go to. I guess you could say you take the scenic route.
Haha, yeah, definitely a long way down. And we went from, that crazy mind to like the bigger picture of how everything's changing with technology.
Right, right. So for this last part, I thought we could talk about what we can learn from all of this. Like, what does this limestone mine tell us about the future?
I think what's happening with the mine is kind of like a small example of this huge change happening all over. I mean, we're in the middle of this tech revolution, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's changing like everything, the way we work, everything we do every day. It's all changing because of technology.
It's like we're at this point where we have to decide which way to go, and the mine is like the old way of doing things.
Yeah, exactly. And as we, I don't know, move forward, we got to think about the good stuff that can happen, but also the problems.
Right. So let's start with the good stuff. Like, what are the good things that can happen when we start using technology more? Not just for the government, but like everywhere.
Well, one of the big things is things just work better. Like you can get things done faster and it costs less.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So everyone wins, right? Things happen faster, things cost less, it's easier. I mean, who wouldn't want that?
True, true. But it's not just about being easier, right? Like, we can do totally new things with technology.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, imagine if, like, everything was personalized just for you.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It's like, instead of having one thing for everybody, you could have something that's perfect just for you.
I see what you mean.
And that could change, like, everything. Healthcare, education, even shopping, everything.
Oh, yeah, I get it. So instead of like a one-size-fits-all, it's like tailor-made.
That's a good way to put it. And we could even help people who, couldn't get certain things before.
Oh, yeah? How?
Well, think about, like, if you live in a really rural area and you need to see a specialist doctor, with technology, they could, like, see you virtually.
Oh, that's a good point.
Or, like, online learning, right? People all over the world can take classes online now. So it's like more people have a chance to do things that they couldn't before.
I see what you mean. So it's like everybody has a chance. Okay, so there's a lot of potential, but you said there were some challenges too, right? Like, what are some of the things we got to be careful about as we move forward with all this technology?
Well, one of the biggest things is jobs, right?
Right.
If we automate everything, some people are going to lose their jobs.
Yeah, that's true.
And we got to make sure that we help those people. Like, we can't just leave them behind.
Absolutely. So it's not like we're against progress, but we got to do it the right way.
Yeah. Yeah. We got to invest in, like, training people for new jobs and stuff, or create new jobs that, like, work with the new technology.
So it's like we can't just forget about the people who might be affected. We got to help them adapt.
Exactly. And then there's the whole thing about, privacy and security online.
Yeah, that's important.
If all of our information is online, we got to make sure it's safe, right? And that nobody can, like, hack into systems and stuff.
Right, right. So we need, like, good security and make sure people know how to be safe online.
Yeah. And it's not just about, like, your own information. It's about, like, hospitals and banks and stuff like that. We can't let hackers shut those things down.
Yeah, definitely. That's a big problem we got to solve if we're going to do all this stuff online.
Right. And it's not just about the technology. It's about, people and how we use it. We got to make sure that we're using technology for good.
Yeah, like responsibly.
Exactly. And that's something we all have to talk about and figure out together.
So what you're saying is this whole mind thing, it's not just about one weird government office. It's about how we're all going to have to deal with this stuff.
Exactly. It's like a wake-up call, It's like, hey, technology is changing everything. Are we ready?
And this is just the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think, what can people do, like, right now to be ready for all this change?
Well, I think the most important thing is to, like, stay informed, keep learning about new technology and how it's changing things.
Right.
And don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, if you don't understand something, just ask.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what about the ethical part? Like, how can people make sure that technology is being used for good?
Well, I think it starts with, like, being aware of the potential problems, like we talked about jobs and privacy.
Yeah.
And then, like, talking to people about it, like, have conversations with your friends, your family, your coworkers, whoever, talk about how technology is affecting you and what you think is right and wrong.
So it's like we all have a responsibility to make sure that technology is used in a good way.
Yeah, for sure. Look, technology is powerful, but it's up to us to decide how we use it.
Okay, that's a great point. So this limestone mine story, even though it's kind of weird, it actually brought up some really important stuff, like how technology is changing the world and what we can do to be ready for it.
Totally. It's like a reminder that, things are changing fast and we got to keep up.
And it's also a reminder that we all have a role to play in shaping the future.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not something that just happens to us. It's something we create.
That's a good way to put it. So to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this made you think about how technology is changing the world and what it means for all of us.
And remember, keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep talking to each other.
Yeah, because the future is, well, it's what we make it. So let's make it a good one. See you.